sure that we're on the straight and narrow here. Out that it's nullified considering the enclosed Exhibit A evidence by David Hume attached with admitted scissors, paste, and sewing machine marks, which is clear evidence of fraud to vitiate, and there's no statute of limitations on a fraud. So if there's fraud discovered, even though it's 100 years ago, that because it's fraud, there's no statute of limitations to limit us. We sent that letter November 7th to the Premier, and on November 9th they responded, acknowledging the letter, and then they didn't even sign the letter back. So we've gone through the David Hume article here. We showed some of the fraud marks that invalidate the contract. Larry also wrote to the Archbishop of Canterbury to let him know that the King is in violation because the King is the sovereign on this contract. And the King got fraud, and so we let his church know that there's fraud here. And then we based a lot of our work off the analysis of change, the Split Lake Cree Nation book that was out there. So what we've come out of all of this is we've created the framework and legal and lawful research to actually make a claim as sovereigns, because sovereigns can only enter into treaty. So we're proposing that a 1908 Split Lake Sovereign Nation Trust is formed as the legal and lawful group to make a claim by this April, if we can. The land claim area, we've done the work based on the treaty itself. If you actually read it, and north of 60, and we mapped it all out on Google Maps, and it turns out to be 85 million acres. Now we put the valuation at 14,006 per acre, which puts a value of about 1.2 trillion on the value of this entire area up here. And this entire area, it includes Thompson, Churchill, and a number of other spaces in the north. What are the benefits to the community if we do this? Well, bullet one is ownership and control of the Split Lake Sovereign Nation. Our inherent and ancestral lands are actually owned by a different group right now. So we need to restore our Indian allodial title. That's what they wanted to take from us. They say that in the books. And so on the 85 million acres, we think we have a big claim here that'll be a historic wealth transfer, because the wealth generation will alleviate poverty right away. It'll improve our living standards. The wealth distribution of this makes everyone sitting in here a multi-millionaire. And this has been done in the past. There's big lessons at Mystic Lake people. They all get $1 million a year payout at Mystic Lake today. And for 10 years, they were still poor. So when they first got their $1 million checks, I'd go there and you could still see their houses weren't nice. There was bicycle tires on the roof. After 10 years of making $1 million a year, now it's like Tuxedo or Lindenwoods on the reserve. Like everybody has a beautiful home. And then recently there was a movie about the Osage Indians, that they became the flowers of the blue flower moon or something. They were the richest people in all of North America as Indians in 1920. This land claim has the ability to make Split Lake the next Osage Indians. And with that kind of money, the infrastructure development that we've been talking about, with more increased financial resources, is that it allows investment into infrastructure projects where we can build homes for everyone, better houses, better schools, better everything. And really, this is all about empowerment and self-determination. Because unless you own it, you're always going to be sort of asking for permission to do everything on your own land. So we sent a letter to Bob Canoe, it was hand-delivered, and it basically is making a claim that we're making a claim before the doctrine of discovery. Because in the work that was done with the signature marks, they're suggesting that we extinguished all our past claims going back to the beginning of time. Well, if there's fraud, then we didn't extinguish those claims. So those claims to the very beginning are now eligible because of that fraud. So we sent the letter And we believe that this 1908 Split Lake Sovereign Nation Trust is the proper and legal and lawful sovereign entity to make the claim for 85 million acres of land. And we're basically here to talk about that today. We show highlights of some of the exact fraud. And then from the book, the Treaty 5 adhesion, this is William Kitchikizek and Rachel. And right below their words it says, the government therefore believed it necessary to extinguish Indian title to the land. So that's what this was about. It was to extinguish 85 million acres of our title to the land. And because of the fraud, the other thing we've got to consider is in 1670, the Hudson's Bay Company was granted a royal charter over the vast territory of Rupert's Land, including what is now northern Manitoba, which is the Split Lake lands. The royal charter gave the company sovereign ownership of the land. This is in our Split Lake history books. So if we agree that we gave the sovereign ownership of the land to the Hudson's Bay Company, we've got a claim against Rupert's Land, and Rupert's Land was used to form Canada and file Treaty 1. All of that is at risk with the Split Lake claim because of the fraud. And so maybe Simmons, being who he was, is a blessing in disguise, because now we get to reverse all of this stuff. Section 125 of the Canadian Constitution. The Constitution was started in 1867. Our claim goes before that. And this section 125 tax exemption is the sovereign tax exemption. And there's no limits to whether you're on the reserve or off the reserve, whether you're in a commercial enterprise or not. Once you're a section 125, you're sovereign and you're exempt from everything. This tells me that Split Lake is a sovereign because we entered into treaty and we use section 125 as our tax exemptions. This is the big thing we just won against CRA. They took away my section 87 Indian Act status, and so I had to fight it outside the Indian Act, and we won using this and other things. So we've set up the 1908 Split Lake Sovereign Nation Trust. It's a company, it's an organization, a sovereign group that's set up and ready to make this claim using the evidence of David Hume and the other things. And we believe that we can make a claim for the full amount. Before April of this year. So as long as everyone agrees to move forward, because this isn't to go into the chief and council and ask the surrendered group who gets financing from the sovereign or for permission, because we have to act outside of that as family members, as the family members on that wall, because that's where the power is. That was there before Canada Inc., USA Inc., and all these other corporate second law things. First law is sovereign nation ownership. So that's my presentation, and Killer Gange is here just to make sure that we're on the straight and narrow again.